Hi, welcome to the Corner of Knit and Tea, episode 50. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog, and this episode's show notes will be over at thecornerofknitandtea.com. And I have an Etsy store where I sell my handspun yarns called the Stash Buckler Adventures in Yarn. Finally, we have a Ravelry group called the Corner of Knit and Tea. If you're interested in more details on the show and to get involved in the group, please come over and do. Hello, it is Sunday, August 16th, and this is the second time I am recording episode 50. I recorded the episode, took the photographs I needed to, got going, went to go edit the episode together, and realized that the mic had crapped out on the last take and there was no sound. And it was lovely watching myself showcase all my objects, but I realized quickly that I was going to need to retape with some sound. So I'm going to go through this a second time, try not to rush, and give you everything that I gave you the first time, and we'll see how it goes. It has been a wonderful week here. The weather cooled off just a smidge, and it has not been as humid and gross. Yesterday morning, my husband and I went for a long walk in a neighborhood park, which was lovely. This afternoon, he is off playing disc golf with friends, and I am recording the podcast. I will be editing the podcast. Then I hope to get a little bit of exercise in on the treadmill, and then I plan to sit and knit for the afternoon and maybe binge watch a little bit of Orange is the New Black. I have not finished watching it. So that is what has been going on here. It has been kind of a quiet Sunday, which I absolutely love. Getting ready to go into a busy time at work. One of my coworkers is going on vacation for a couple weeks, and I fill in for her, so I will have a lot more to do. I've also been busy working on a variety of things behind the scenes that I can't talk about yet, but I will be talking about them in the up and coming weeks. So I have been quite busy, and it's weird that I can't show you everything, but I will shortly. So let's get into today's episode. Before I started the podcast, I brewed some iced tea up. I am trying to wean myself a little bit off of diet soda. Diet Coke I love. And I figure if I make a pot of iced tea, then maybe I will start drinking that in the mornings rather than grabbing a soda. So, today I blended, it is Mighty Leaf Organic Berry Wellness. It does not have an ingredients list on here, but I know there are blueberries, some strawberries, some raspberries, some orange peel, and then there is also some spice, I think some cinnamon. And it gives it just a little bit of spice, and it's lovely. It is a decaf blend, and then what I did is I went ahead and blended it like I sometimes do with green tea. We had Bromley's decaf green tea in the cupboard, so we used about 5 bags of this and a full scoop of this and brewed them in my iced tea pitcher. And I came up with a lovely iced tea. It is not quite as dark as I thought it would be, but it tastes deliciously of the berries and the spices, and I am really enjoying it. So yes, that is what I'm drinking today. I reviewed Mighty Leaf's Organic Berry Wellness on the blog quite a while ago, so if you are interested in looking for a review of that, you can find that on there. I also have been playing with the lights, and you missed in the first podcast where I got up partway through the episode because it smelled like something was burning, which was amusing to everyone except me. As it turns out, nothing was burning, but I am using some work lights to light the room, and they get really, really hot. So now I have them on a dimmer switch, and I have it resting on something. So this time I will not get up, but that's what you missed the first time around. So let's get into the knitting. I finished my Rose City Rollers by Mara Breyer. This is a cool pattern to use up leftover bits of yarn. The gray is Knit Picks Stroll, which is their sock yarn in Dove Heather Gray. And the orange kind of melon color is, I'm not exactly sure what it is. It is something that I received from someone while I was doing the leftovers cowl with all the color work. But I thought it would be kind of fun and it would stretch my yardage just a little bit. These came in at 184 yards. I have small feet. My feet are size 6.5, so your mileage may vary. I was doing these to try and get to the end of Stash Dash with 10,000 yards, and I will give you a spoiler alert, I didn't quite make it. I finished these on Wednesday. I had a few skeins of yarn to ply up, and I ended up at 9,964 yards at 10:30 on Friday night, which was an hour and a half away from the deadline, and I just conceded gracefully, not this year. So, but I did enjoy knitting these. I probably will knit more. They'd be great summer socks with the shorties, and they're a great use for leftover skeins. Not that I don't have enough things that I'm doing with my leftovers, but I really enjoyed these. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. So if you're interested, check them out. Rose City Rollers. So last week when we spoke, I talked to you about my Camp Loopy 3 project that I am combining 2 patterns. I am using Mary Jane, which is a pattern by Sarah Moore, and I am mixing it up with a colorwork section from the Wonderland tank. Basically, I am knitting the Mary Jane but using the colorwork band at the bust. And last week I had just joined together to knit in the round, and I had wanted to try and get the colorwork done and had screwed up a little bit and had to pull it out. So I went back and finished that on Sunday night, and I have been working on the body this week. And I have gotten pretty far. I'm about 6 inches into the body. So as you can see, the top is Woolmize Fuchsia. I had that done last week, and just the very starting bits of the brown, and then I went ahead and did the color work. The green pops are Misselzweig, which is, these are all Woolmize colors. The blue is Hortensie, which is her version of Forget-Me-Not, and the orange is Kerbis. So all of those colors will be named and linked on the show notes. As I said, I am several inches into the body. I will tell you that I'm mishmashing patterns, and I can't leave well enough alone. The Mary Jane pattern is written for sport weight, but I previously knit it in a fingering weight. So I am using my measurements from, and my gauge swatch was about the same this time. So I'm using the measurements that I used previously to get what I want out of it. The one thing I will say is that Mary Jane, it is the top-down raglan sweater, but it has sections of textured and patterned knitting in between stockinette, and those kind of help to pull in at the bust and at the waistline. So I'm adding some simple shaping running down the sides, and you can't really tell because it's all bunched up on the needle. But that is where I'm at. So partway down the body, my guess is I have between 6 and 10 inches to go. I do want this to be sort of not quite tunic length, but a little bit. I want it to hit like mid-hip as opposed to just at the waist. So I have some straight knitting down the body. I'll probably do a few increases for the hips, and the bottom is 1.5 inches of 2x2 rib. So I am hoping to finish the body of this weekend so that I can, or I'm sorry, not this weekend, this coming week, so that when I see you next, all I will have left is the collar and then the sleeves. That would make me very happy since it is the 16th of August, and Camp Loopy is due by August 31st. And I have a variety of other projects that I would really, really, really like to get into. So that is my Camp Loopy 3 project, and I will be working on that. I suspect next week's podcast will be a little bit boring because that's probably the only knitting I'll be able to show you next week, and I do want to spend a good chunk of my time on it this week. So that is what I'm knitting. I actually spun quite a bit this week. Last week I showed you a braid from Into the World. It was a BFL, Blue-Faced Leicester, in the colorway Aurora, which is for Aurora Borealis. And it was yellows and greens and navies and a little bit of violet. And I have now spun that up, and I just love these colors. You can see the greens and yellows and the navy blue, and the colors are, a little bit dark, but you can see here it just looks like the Northern Lights, and I loved it. This is about 269 yards, I would say, of a sport weight Blue-Faced Leicester. This would be a great pair of socks. It's also soft enough that it could be an accessory. And this one is going to be going up in the shop this evening. So if you are interested, it is not spoken for yet. I will have higher quality pictures than the video camera, and it will be up there in just a couple hours. The other thing that I did this week is, if you remember, last week I awarded the Podiversary prizes, and my standing deal with fiber is I will give away the fiber, or if you want me to spin it for you, I will. And the lovely Linda won last week's braid, which was 2F by hand, Superwash Merino in Cherry Fresh, which was reds and pinks and bright green and a little pop of blue. And she was interested in having me spin it for her, so I also spun that one this week. And that came out absolutely squishy. It is probably a sport to DK weight, and it is also right around 270 yards. So this one is, I already put my card on it and all the tags and labels because I thought after the first time I was done, I'm getting ready to package it up. And Linda, your yarn will go out this week and it should be to you very shortly. But that is 2F by hand, Cherry Fresh, lots of fun colors. This is super soft. It would make a good pair of socks if you don't have super large feet. I can get a pair of socks out of 270 yards of sport to DK weight. If not, it would make a great pair of Rose City rollers if you wanted short socks for around the house. And these would be squishy and lovely, and they are superwash. So that is what I worked on this week. And I am just flying right through the recording. I don't know if it's that I've done it before or that I didn't have to stop a couple times, but we'll just keep going because I do have a few more things to show you. It is time to pick out a new spin, and I decided to go with this one. This was a Spunky Eclectic club colorway, and when I saw it and a couple of them spun up, I just absolutely fell in love and had to have it. It is lavenders and a little bit of blue, and then you've got all kinds of mauves and purples, and it is called Nebula, and it is Falkland, which is one of my favorite fibers, and I just could not resist. I suspect it won't be entirely pastel. It might be pastel with pops of other things because there are some really bright, colorful sections in there. But I am super excited to spin this. This will also be a shop braid. So if these are your colors, then look out for it next week. I should finish it by next weekend, be able to show it to you and pop it in the shop. So that is Spunky Eclectic Nebula, and one of her club members so graciously sold me this bump when I really, really needed this colorway. So that's my content for the week. I feel like I really have not done so much worth talking about, which is kind of crazy. I do have some things going on behind the scenes, and if you know me, I am not comfortable working on things that I can't talk about. I just want to share everything. However, since I'm going to be doing another review and I am working on a design that I'm still not quite confident in, I'm just not ready to talk about them yet. But I will be doing more reviews and some designing, so I hope that I will be able to talk about it in some up and coming episodes. I did, however, receive a question in the Ask Me Anything thread, which is the question thread on Ravelry in the Ravelry group. And the question comes from Sharon in Georgia, whose Ravelry name is Frog Stitch. She says, I know you like to spin up 4 ounces over 4 evenings and ply on the 5th day. If you get 350 yards of 2-ply, how many hours did it take you to spin the 700 yards and how many hours to ply it? I think you must be a lot faster than I am at spinning. Well, thank you, Sharon, for your question. You are actually quite perceptive to note that I generally do spin 4 nights and ply on the 5th, which means generally what I'm doing is spinning about an ounce each evening and then applying on the 5th night. Normally what happens is I spin for maybe an hour or an hour and a half each evening and spin an ounce. Basically, I spin till I've spun the ounce up. Most of the time in my barber pole braids, I break it up. I break the braid in half, and then I break each half into smaller sections, and I try and break it up such that I can spin about an ounce each evening. So anywhere between an hour or an hour and a half. I can go a little bit longer than that if I'm spinning super thin. And then on the 5th day I ply, as I have talked about before. I spin all of my singles onto one bobbin, then I wind it into a center pole ball and ply from that, because that way I don't have any waste or leftovers. Plying itself usually takes me between 2 and 3 hours. It kind of depends on how thin I've spun, if I get any knots in the singles, how many times I have to get up in the middle. But that is, my usual is probably about 2 to 3 hours for plying. I will also note that not everything that I do hits the 350 yard mark. I am generally very much a sport weight spinner, which means most of the time I'm getting 275, 280, 300. So we're not quite to 350. So some things I do, it just kind of depends on the fiber itself, how thin it wants to draft, and what I might have in mind for it, or how much time I have to sit and spin. So I hope that answers your question, Sharon. I know that that's kind of just an estimate. I guess I should sort of wrap that up by saying, so I spend probably anywhere between 4 and 6 hours spinning the singles and 2 to 3 hours on the plying. So ultimately that gets me anywhere between about 6 and 9 hours, 7 and 9 hours. So that's roughly what I spend per skein, although I'm sure that on some skeins I'll spend 10 or 11. It just kind of depends. I know that in, so a couple things. One is I'm not sure that I spin super fast. I just don't spin super thin. Another is that it is just me and my husband. I don't have any children or any pets. So we have hobbies. So basically when I come home from work, I usually get on the treadmill for a little bit, and then I cook dinner, or we cook dinner together. And then in the evenings, we are open for our hobbies. So I have anywhere between 3 and 4 hours a night to craft. And generally I split it up between spinning and knitting. So I spin for an hour, hour and a half, and then I knit for the remainder of the time. Recently, during Tour de Fleece, I actually spun quite a bit in the evenings. I almost didn't knit at all. So that meant that I was getting 3 hours or more a night, which is also how I spun over 2 ounces in an evening several times. So I just spend a lot of time at it is really more where it's at, and I don't have a lot of distractions. I don't have to get up so much, and I don't have little people or furry pets to attend to. So Sharon, I hope that answers your question. If you ever have a comment or a question for me, you are welcome to leave it here on YouTube or on the blog, or ask me in the Ravelry group, or send me an email or private message, whatever works for you. I guess that's it. I really did speed through. I feel like I'm talking too fast. Please let me know if I am, and if I really need to slow it down. I will try and slow it down for next week. I suspect that having to record twice made me a little bit quicker on the second time through. So that was kind of how that ended up. Thank you once again for joining me. If you are new to the podcast, I appreciate you taking some time to hang out with me today and let me show you the things that I have crafted. And I will say, as I always say, until I see you next, I hope you have a wonderful week. Happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!